Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's finally here, the Season 2 finale of House of the Dragon, dubbed The Queen Who Ever Was. Now, the title itself I want to immediately bring attention to, as it is a direct parallel of, obviously, Rhaenys Targaryen as the Queen Who Never Was. So, immediately I'm jumping to assumptions of what we can see this episode based on what I've read in Fire and Blood. And I will just say as a note about Season 2 as a whole, I won't lie in that I have a slight amount of concern for this finale. I've read Fire and Blood, and I expected more things to happen based on the pacing of the book in comparison to the show. I understand that it will obviously differ, but I expected a fair bit more to happen this season, so I am mildly concerned that there are going to be a couple of issues in wrapping everything up in this one episode. However, that being said, I have heard nothing but good things, so I will continue to be optimistic going into this, and I'm sure I will be proven wrong. Luckily, I myself have been able to avoid all of the leaks for this episode. I believe in Iceland, I think it was, the entire episode went up on HBO Max like a week early, which it's not good. So luckily, unfortunately for some people, they were spoiled completely for this episode, but luckily I was not one of them, so I cannot complain. But with all that being said, I think it's time to get into the Season 2 finale of House of the Dragon. Where are we? Is this the Triarchy? Don't think a fleet can topple a dragon, no matter what Season 8 of Game of Thrones may say. I'm looking forward to seeing Aemon's meltdown. Well, I'll be part of it. Looks more like Viserys by each passing day. Curious as to what Alicent is up to as well now that Aegon has kind of come back to his senses. Oh god, I love him. At this point, I'm surprised Aegon's even trying to play for the throne and not just buggering off. Considering, like, in episode 9, he was so just happy with just leaving the throne alone and giving it to Rhaenyra. It's odd that he doesn't kind of want to just surrender at this point. I can't lie. He is very, very good. Very, very good at sweet talking, honestly. It's quite impressive. As much as I dislike Larys, he is a very interesting character. And I think we're going to see Rhaena attempt to bond with Sheepstealer, if I had any guess. I'm kind of curious that the party she was with would just let her go so easily, rather than like trying to stop her or follow after her. They were just like, yeah, no, she can go off. I'm very interested to see where Jace is at this episode, because he was very vocally against the idea of the whole Dragon Siege, with some like plausible issues. So I'm curious.
I meant no disrespect, my prince.
It's also nice to see Jace trying to assert some authority as well. We don't really see that much with him.
We know little of who they are.
Looks like Corlys's ship is finally ready for sea. The sea snake's finally ready to go. Dreamfire would be a big strength, but I doubt Helena would ever try and fly to war on her. Let alone, well, she doesn't seem to fly at all, so... Rhaenys still hurts, and it's been like another 4 episodes, man. It's tough. Where is Sir Alfred? Because he was deployed to meet Daemon by Rhaenyra, like... I think it was episode after the Battle of Rook's Rest, episode 5. There he is. This is the thing. You're saying you're loyal, and then you're going against it. I don't know. And you're now also telling Daemon what he wants to hear, but I think that might be the very thing to kick him away from that course. But also trying to play that point and having Daemon hear it where he could report that to Rhaenyra is dangerous.
We must all make our sacrifices.
They've sacrificed a fair bit already, though, Aemond.
It isn't a question. They have defiled our birthright, made commoners into
Jesus Christ.
And now you seek to corrupt your sister. Of all our line, the gentlest and most deserving of your protection.
Who will protect her if she cannot protect herself?
And who will she be if her mind is broken?
It is no longer our rule that is threatened. Lives, would you not have us
it's nice seeing Alicent finally properly challenge Aemon and having him rise to it, honestly.
Not like this.
The fact that Otto was very positive about Aemond is ridiculous to me, given how vocal he was about disliking Daemon. Mental.
I need passage.
I would call that wholesome if I didn't
think
hate
nothing of your oath.
Kristen.
Steward's son from Dawn. Fucking the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms.
Ho ho ho!
Queen. Since then, she has been the beacon I follow.
Interesting having Kristen explore his motivations as well. Although now a whole field of people now know what he's been
I
doing.
don't think I have no shame in me, sir.
I think just trying to bypass your own small shortcomings by just saying, yeah, all men are dickheads is not a great way to do it. I can't lie, this is possibly one of the more interesting and one of the best monologues of the season. And I did not expect it from Kristen Cole. See, House Lannister should have known that this was their place all along. Go on, Tyland!
It does not befit a prince to pout.
That's what he's been doing all season. I love their relationship, man. It's so good. And one of the very few wholesome ones in Westeros. Rhaena is really going through it. They've got pretty good hospitality. I'll give them that. Looks like decent food. I'll be setting sail then. And, well, I think some of us already know the repercussions of that.
I wish to have children by you.
Yeah. 2 days to learn how to fly a dragon and then flying them all to war is risky.
There is a message from Harrenhal, Your Grace.
From probably Sir Simon Strong, I expect. Think we're in for yet another Harrenhal vision. I'm curious. She's bringing Daemon down here. What? She's with someone with antlers.
When you came here, you were closed fist.
I'm curious. Are we finally going to see a culmination of Daemon's arc at Harrenhal now? I find it also really, really cool that face there is modelled off of George R.R. Martin. I love that we're connecting to a weirwood tree directly. Bloodraven! Oh! That's... Oh! That's Dany and her dragons. That was amazing, dude. Is that Rhaenyra?
It's all a story.
Is that Helena?
You know your part.
Huh. Oh, we've underestimated you, Helena. We have underestimated you.
It's on a wooden throne, and you are never seen again.
Oh, we're really struggling with second son syndrome yet again. Good God. It's been too long since we've heard Caraxes. There he is. Seemingly mirroring the scene in Season 1 where he has the crown of the Stepstones on his head. Or at least to me that's how it looks. I don't know. He's going to speak about... Yeah, he's going to speak about the prophecy. The Song of Ice and Fire that Rhaenyra already knows of.
I am meant to serve you, and all of these with me.
And for Daemon to say that publicly... Riverland's come to heal.
There will be no mercy. We fight for our queen.
Yes! Okay, I take back what I was saying about a lot of the stuff happening in Harrenhal. This being the culmination of it, spot on. I think he's now going to have a bit of a go at Corlys.
You want suddenly to scatter the crumbs of your favor.
He's not wrong.
I am an honorable man, and I will serve you because I must.
I think Corlys needed to bloody hear it. Is this Jace?
I had to see you.
Alicent? This is very interesting. Especially seeing Alicent doing a 180.
Did you come here thinking you would be absolved?
She's doing the thing as well that she used to do in her youth as well, fiddling with her nails. Biting and picking.
History will paint you a villain, grasping for power and then defeated.
Very interesting, given how she's portrayed in Fire and Blood as well. That was a very, very interesting addition. Dragon Seeds are getting armoured up. And it's good looking armor as well, I can't lie. She's getting closer and closer to that dragon. She's been running around all episode, bless her. That's Tessarian. Oh, we saw Tessarian, man. Got the North coming in across the Twins. Lannisters have left the Golden Tooth. Oh, I'm liking this. And Daemon's finally goddamn leaving after an entire season, man. Sheep Stealer. Is that Aegon? That's Otto. Who's got him? So that was the Season 2 finale of House of the Dragon, and I do have some notes, as I did really enjoy it, but I definitely have some critiques kind of viewing this as a whole season. Now, first of all, the episode in itself, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great as an episode. I think as a finale, yeah, a little bit more dubious, but as an episode, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, we obviously started off with the triarchy, and I really liked actually getting their motivations explored a little bit, right? So in Fire and Blood, it's pretty much just they don't like Daemon, so they're going to side with Team Green, because Team Green are against the Velaryons and Daemon, so therefore they go with the Greens, which, that again, does make sense, but the kind of them whole expounding on that and saying, well, we want stepstones, we're going to try and actually negotiate with you rather than kind of blindly rolling over, that was a good expansion, I think, and it was nice to see a little bit of kind of a triarchy custom. It was, as I don't think they really get that much kind of a spotlight in the books. The next thing we obviously got was Jace addressing Ulf the White. Now, Ulf's an interesting one of the Dragon Seas, as Adam and Hugh both kind of know how to conduct themselves. Ulf has really no idea at all and is a coward when it comes down to it. He'll be all mouthy and just take the mick until he's actually faced with actual danger, where he's more likely just to roll over or turn tail and run than actually do anything, and I think that's kind of been adequately explored, but seeing him kind of in a position of nobility, I think was a good amount of comic relief, to be completely honest, but seeing Jace actually step into his authority and put him in his place was very, very satisfying. Now, Aemond is an interesting beast, and I think we're really kind of getting it explored here, that whilst true, he did have a horrible childhood, and there are a lot of factors that affected how he came to be, he is not by any means a good person. He's not just interested in, oh, he didn't just let Aegon burn because Aegon bullied him. It's because he wanted Aegon burned. Like, it wasn't just the instance of, oh, he had a lapse of judgment because his brother, he has a complex relationship with his brother. Like, it was kind of a little bit more simple, and him burning I think it was Sharp Point, I believe was the name of the town, or just burning a town simply because Rhaenyra got another couple of dragons is testament to that. And especially with the later scene with Helena that I will talk about, I think especially kind of clarifies a lot of things about Aemond's character. Now, Kristen Cole got a very, very interesting monologue this episode, and I honestly really enjoyed it. Now, Kristen Cole, I've made no kind of veiled reasoning behind the fact that I very much dislike him. I don't think he's very likable. I dislike him. I like the character because he's interesting, and I think Fabian Frankel does such an incredible job playing him, because for some reason some people think it's acceptable to, well, because they dislike Kristen Cole, to take it out on Fabian Frankel. Very weird. Go touch some grass. Anyway, I thought that entire monologue was very, very interesting, and it's actually nice to have some things about Kristen Cole understood, because to this point it's basically just, oh yeah, he hates Rhaenyra. That's kind of it. Like, he's not really explored his motivations and his character, and I think giving him that monologue was really, really integral to exploring him and kind of explaining him as a character. I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought it was one of the better parts of the episode. Now, Daemon getting that vision was not something I expected, because we saw several kind of key things in there. The first of which was Bloodraven, or Brynden Rivers. Now, those that have watched Game of Thrones will know him as the Three-Eyed Raven, and we see him in season, I think we see him for the first time at the end of season 4, because Bran is pretty much non-existent in season 5, and then in season 6 as well, where he then is eventually killed by the Night King. Now, I was not expecting by any means seeing him. I think that is an indication to the casting they've got for the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, as I believe Brynden Rivers is supposedly making an appearance in that. I've not actually read A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, but to my understanding, he will be appearing in that. So I think this is kind of their choice to their chance to kind of showcase the actor who they're going to be using, because I have no doubt now that they're not going to... Well, saying that, actually, Season 4, they did swap it out by Season 6, but we'll hope they're sticking to that actor as they're kind of filming now. But seeing Bloodraven was awesome. We then got visions of the Long Night, and ultimately the kind of culmination of events that happened in Season 8 of Game of Thrones, which is unfortunate to me that that's still the outcome we're going to. But nevertheless, I think House of the Dragon is doing a significantly better job at adapting source material that Game of Thrones did. But it also foreshadowed Daemon's death, I believe. Now, I will quickly say, quick spoiler for those that have not read Fire and Blood. This is showing Daemon's death at the God's Eye, which we will see in Battle Above the God's Eye. And another thing was very much hinted with that as well, and that is to do with Helena. Now, Helena seemingly interacted with Daemon during this vision, and I, again, don't quite understand how. It's very interesting. I think Helena as a character has been very, very much underestimated by pretty much everyone in the show, and honestly I think by us fans as well, because I don't think anyone can expect her to have the level of knowledge that we thought she did, as when Aemon confronts her and says, well, you know, we need to go get a new dragon, sis, you're gonna burn things because we're the rightful rulers. And he was like, well, was it rightful when you burned Aegon and let him fall to nearly his expected demise? And he was just like, you don't have any proof, I didn't do that. And I was like, yes you did, I saw you do it. Like, that, it's in itself, I think a lot of us can kind of understand that she probably knew what happened, but her actually being able to foresee this, or seeing it somehow probably through her being a dragon dreamer, was very interesting to know as confirmation. But specifically her interacting through Daemon was, or to Daemon, was very, very interesting, and I believe it was deliberate to show that she was actually talking to him, because again, at the end of that whole vision sequence, she seems to be just ending that conversation when it cuts to the balcony and Daemon kind of walking out onto it. But that was very interesting, and I'm glad Helena did get a little bit more spotlight at the end of the season, as I think they showed a lot of her at the beginning of the season, and now they're kind of showing her at the end. I think they could have done a bit more work to kind of show her kind of around the middle. It'd be nice to see more of her. Daemon bending the knee was something that really needed to happen. There was obviously that thing with Sir Alfred early in the episode, and I think that was deliberate to kind of show that, okay, Daemon's going to be faced with this last hurdle, and that's going to push him to the edge of being like, no, I can't do this. If he called him a turncloak, and then he was like, well, I'm not siding with a turncloak, like that. I think that was kind of what helped push him alongside the vision that he did see. And I think it's really interesting that the first thing Daemon says to Rhaenyra after Rhaenyra arrives and basically says, you know, bend the knee to me, he goes on about how the Song of Ice and Fire, essentially, and that's what started the whole conflict with them at the end of Season 1, with Rhaenyra going, well, Viserys never told you of the Song of Ice and Fire, did he? He never meant to make you his heir. But Daemon finally knowing this knowledge, it's kind of interesting, because it's finally suggesting to me that he is now worthy to take that mantle of King Consort and stand beside Rhaenyra, but not above her. And I'm just very, very glad that the whole Harrenhal arc has somewhat come to a conclusion. Another great point of this episode was Alan and Corlys. Now, Corlys has been dancing around his bastards basically for the entire season. Alan in particular, he seems to really have paid very little heed to Adam, which is kind of odd that he's focusing more on Alan, but I think Alan finally kind of having a go at him, it's been a long time coming, and especially from his perspective, as he said, he had to like starve and on the streets trying to scrounge for food whilst watching the man who sired him shopping for sweet like meats with his son just to have after supper. Like, you can understand that probably would enrage him, and the fact that Corlys basically had nothing to do with him until all of his other children died. Then he's like, oh, well, I can mend the bridges, I guess. Like, that in itself is... I mean, it's a very big wake-up call to Corlys, and I think it will lead to some events that do happen later in Fire and Blood. Very, very quick spoiler warning for those that do want to know. Essentially, Corlys, I think, will eventually legitimize both of them as members of House Velaryon, being known as then Alan Velaryon and Adam Velaryon, as they will be legitimized. Anyway, moving forward, Alicent and Rhaenyra. Wasn't expecting it. Won't lie, I expected, like, well, we had that whole Septon scene in episode, I believe it was episode 3, or episode 2 or 3, I can't quite recall. We had that whole scene, and I figured that would be the last we'd get of them interacting, but I was proven wrong, and I'm kind of conflicted as how to feel about it. I do like it. I do think, however, that having it hinge on those two characters again, I understand is a very big part of the show, but I honestly, I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of that. I think one time is feasible to have Rhaenyra try and sneak into King's Landing, but then to have Alicent and sneak to Dragonstone, it's a bit like, I don't quite like how much they're dancing around that whole thing. It's, the more they do it, the less it starts to have meaning, in my opinion. Like, the first time was really good. I fully support that. I really enjoyed it. The second time, I think, okay, I understand why you're doing this. It's making sense. It's I can understand it from a narrative perspective, but I think if we do it again, it just takes away from the meaning of it altogether, and it just makes it like, oh, well, okay, the sides are having another big conflict, just get Alicent to go to Rhaenyra again. Like, it demeans it more by including it more, but I hope that may be the last time that happens. I think, really, based on the last scene that we see, things are finally going to start to kick off, and obviously the last part of that whole sequence was the marching sequence, which was really cool. We saw the Lannisters crossing with the, well, leaving the Golden Tooth and crossing into the Riverlands. We saw the North crossing the Twins. We saw Tyland leading with a triarchy over to Blackwater Bay for the Battle of the Gullet, or toward the Gullet. And then we also got a shot of Otto Hightower that did look to be in a cage. Now, I had a theory that Otto had been taken, and I was well proved right. And I think, again, they did draw deliberate attention to that in the previous episode with Alicent, or it might have been the episode previous. I forget exactly what episode, with Alicent going to Gwaine and going, well, where's father? Have you heard from him? Have you heard anything from him? He's like, he'll show his head when he's got something to say. But I did think it was quite ominous, the fact they drawed kind of attention to his absence 3 times in the episode. Yeah, something's wrong there. But I'm wondering kind of who's captured him, as I figured that if it was necessarily someone very, very strongly allied with Rhaenyra, they would already have given him to Rhaenyra, or Rhaenyra would at least be aware that he was in a captive. So I'm kind of confused as to where Otto is at the minute. I think he was heading to Highgarden, so the plausible thing is it's potentially House Beesbury, as House Beesbury is, well, against Team Green and is in the Reach. There we go, sorry. Brain slip. So I think it's very possible that it was House Beesbury, but again, I would have thought that an ally of Team Black would send word to Rhaenyra that they have Otto Hightower and kind of use that as a bargaining chip for, I don't know, money, gold, some form of compensation for doing such a thing. So I'm interested to know who's actually caught him. And obviously we got the shot of Aegon leaving King's Landing with Larys. Again, wasn't really surprised to see this season, and is something that did also happen in Fire and Blood, so I was very pleased to see that they're kind of keeping with the accuracy there. But I'm very, very interested to see what's going to happen with Alicent and Helena, as Alicent's kind of taken this whole approach of, well, Aemon's gone, Helena will be queen, Helena will be in charge, I will get her to drop the gate, let you in, as long as you do not kill any of them. Now, Rhaenyra being prepared to kill Aegon, I'm kind of on the fence about. I don't know if this was more of a ploy to kind of figure out really where Alicent's loyalties were at, or whether or not she's actually going to kill him. I think being prepared to kill him is definitely a possibility, as Aegon is always going to be a challenge just for as long as he lives now. Alicent and Otto have seen to that, so there's no way that they can kind of let Aegon live without him bending the knee. Now, Aegon bending the knee would probably solve the issue. However, I think, again, her saying to Alicent that she will kill Aegon is one thing. I think that the fact that she will be prepared to is a very, very different thing. So I'm curious to see if she is actually prepared to follow that through when she does eventually take King's Landing. Now, on to my kind of problems with this season as a whole. Now, my problem is, I felt like in Season 1, they were moving through events very, very quickly. Now, Season 1 takes place over, like, about 20 years. It's a pretty long time period it's going across. I mean, there are several children born and die, and there are several families get completely snuffed out in that time period. And they kind of rush through it to get to this point where everything's seeming to kick off. And then this season ends where everything is seeming to kick off. Like, the only one battle we got in this season was the Battle of Rook's Rest, which by no means did disappoint. I think the Battle of Rook's Rest was done perfectly this season. I would not change a single thing about it. But choosing to end this season with everything's kicking off, it makes the conclusion to Season 1 feel a little bit like a false promise. I don't know if that's the right way to go about it. Like, as a whole, the season is still great. I do not want to anyone to come out of this video and think I am bad-mouthing Season 2 of House of the Dragon, because it has been fantastic. I have very much enjoyed it. I just feel that if you're going to end Season 1 by saying, oh, yeah, everything's kicking off now, the battle of the Dance of the Dragons is beginning, the battles are starting, and then only have one battle that season and choose to end that season by going, and everyone's marching towards, and the battle's finally starting. Like, it's a bit kind of, I don't know. It may well have just been the marketing or certain fan edits that I've seen that have kind of influenced me against that, but I feel that they should have gotten more done in Season 2 than they did. I mean, by all means, they have foreshadowed across some very, very big events that we can expect to see in Season 3. However, the fact that we have to wait till Season 3 is also kind of upsetting, given that Season 3 is going to, well, it's at least 2 years away. So that is, again, another issue. So I think that is also kind of just a point of suffering from an 8-episode season, although I understand if they did want to break up the rest of the warring to kind of be happening in Season 3, this would be a good cutoff point, and it certainly was a good cutoff point. But yeah, just a bit kind of, bit squiffy about how they've kind of chosen to conclude the season, as again, I just feel like it's a little bit cheap to kind of go, yeah, the battle's kicking off again, whereas that's kind of what they did in Season 1. But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that will be all for Season 2 of House of the Dragon reaction-wise, until Season 3 comes out, which will probably be in about 2 years, knowing HBO's rough kind of release schedule. But Season 3 has already been confirmed. I think it was confirmed in, like, Episode 2, so hopefully it is well in the works and will be with us very shortly. But if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to drop a like and also drop a comment. What did you think about the season as a whole? What did you think of this episode? I'm very interested to hear a kind of broad range of takes from A Song of Ice and Fire / House of the Dragon fans, so let me know what you thought. I'm very interested to hear it. If you do like my content, please do consider subscribing. It helps me out a great deal. And I do try and do lore videos on A Song of Ice and Fire as well. It'll be probably a little bit more or less scheduled now that House of the Dragon is no longer releasing, but I'll try to stick to maybe doing one video every couple of weeks, or maybe even one video a week, to kind of keep posting content around A Song of Ice and Fire and keep you guys all interested. But that will be all for today's video. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.